Okay, welcome back. Josh Anton here, public adjuster and host of the Growth Strategist podcast, where I share insights and strategies for business growth and spotlight industry leaders shaping the future for roofing and restoration companies. Today, I'm joined by Carlos E. Sanchez, president of Continental Roof Company in the greater Cincinnati and northern Kentucky area. Continental specializes in roofing, siding, gutters, and insurance claim mediation. Carlos, great to have you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you calling me up.
So you started Continental around 2009 after years in construction. What pushed you to launch the company, and why was community involvement such a core priority from the very beginning?
Well, that's one of the main reasons. Coming from that side of my heart, I've always wanted to do free roof programs. I've always wanted to do some kind of a contribution back to the community in one way or another. And every time I'd go to the owner of the company that I was working for, asking them, what do you think about this? They would shut it down. They just weren't into that. They're more about driving profit than they were driving service. That's one of the main reasons. After being involved with not just that, but it's just that time of my season, basically, where it's time for me to take off and do my own thing. And that was the main driver of that, was the excitement of being able to do stuff within the community. One of the first things that we did was Dragonfly Foundation, the local charity here that deals with kids with cancer and bloodborne diseases. And I'd already been involved with them as an employee, and they tapped me to be a board member, and then just took off from there. And that's one of the main reasons to say I want to do this, and then just do it in a big way.
That's awesome. That's very personal to your community, and I'm sure they respect that. There are so many, companies out there that just don't even get involved at all. That's not necessarily the puts them apart as if they're not a good company, but it can set yourself apart from other companies when you get involved with the community. It's benefiting your community and it's helping your company grow. I mean, why would you not want to have that?
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I've said this a million times if I've said it once. If the roofing community came together as a unit and decided to do something big once a year, whether it's childhood cancer or sexual, abuse or, trafficking, and put all their efforts together and push, we do some really, really big things. The problem with the roofing community, it's historical, and it's probably the same in all communities, but there's a lot of the big money sits in the big pockets of those owners, and they don't really spread it out. Now, there are a lot of roofing companies that do things quietly and don't say anything or do anything about it, and I respect that. And we don't necessarily brag about the fact that we do these things within the community,
Sure.
but we are involved in the community, and people see that. And again, if we had a way to group a large clump of these roofing companies and contractor owners together and make a push towards something big, I think we do some really, really cool things in the community, in the world, period.
That's a great perspective. You guys stand out. You definitely don't shy away from the insurance side. You actively help homeowners navigate through this crazy industry and dealing with insurer pushback. I mean, these insurance companies, they're just a nightmare to work with sometimes. As a PA myself, as a public adjuster, I see firsthand how complex this gets. I mean, when you're navigating, you're dealing with all this exclusionary language with respect to how these policies are written these days, and dealing with, let's just, for example, like a straightforward claim, a 15 to 20-year-old 3-tab that's clearly not repairable, right? And the shingle is likely discontinued. However, yet it somehow still becomes a battle with the carrier. It's like, I mean, I've seen that in the beginning of my career, and I'm still seeing stuff like that. Fundamentally, to prevail on a claim like that, you'd think it wouldn't be too difficult, but sometimes it is. It's just insane.
Yep, absolutely. I have a very good example where the sheathing was 1x8 boards, and they were gaps. So it's an unnailable surface. There's no
Space decking.
space decking, exactly. And the adjuster was arguing that it's a code upgrade. I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with code. It's an unnailable surface. You can't nail a shingle onto that and it hold onto the surface itself.
Sure.
And I mean, we went back and forth. So finally, the customer was just tired of listening to both of us argue and post case after case. I got real technical. I got, you know how how we do. I'm a former licensed state farm adjuster. So I kind of went around that route and kind of was, citing court cases, citing, actual technical information. And ultimately the guy just said, I don't want to talk, quote unquote, I won't be talking to you anymore. Please have the customer reach out to me. So they gave up, and it's a young couple. And it just, those are the ones that really bother me more than anything. Is as a former adjuster, I see the policies. I know how it's written. I also see the exclusions, and I know how you can work around those. And if someone sitting behind the desk who's never nailed a roof on before in their life is not wanting to pay for something that's clearly should be covered, then
Sure.
it becomes more of a personal issue with me than it is a business issue. So, but it's like that forever. And I tell all of my customers, I tell all my sales guys that the insurance company is not this evil corporation. It's a group of people that are invested in it, that work there, that manage it, and they're out there just trying to save their money and not have to spend it. I get that. It's a battle, and you got to just pick the fight and go as far as you can with it, and hopefully you'll prevail.
No, 100%. I think ultimately, I always remind my clients, remember, these insurance companies are a for-profit business. They're in business to make money. So obviously, if they can find a way not to pay out on the claim, they're not going to do it. I mean, it's a fundamental component of our business, but ultimately that's just what it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of delay. We tried to, how there's a whole process between the actual inspection, the adjuster inspection, the shingle match. I mean, there's a whole process that we have to go through. It's all delay, delay, delay until somebody gets tired of asking for it and they give up. They bank on that. I know that. I know that. And that's why I tell my customer, every one of my customers, I tell them this is an insurance claim. If you're willing to fight till the end, I'm willing to fight with you. The minute you give up, I can't do anything more. You are the voice. I'm just the person behind the scenes giving you the information. So it's one of those things where there's only so much you can do, and they know that.
100%. And you say delay, 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 just for example, and when we get to that point where, that happens, I've got a couple pending claims, as you're probably well aware, we had some pretty nasty back-to-back hurricanes last year. So this is a carrier who keeps delaying the claim, and they reassigned the desk examiner like 6 times. And we're getting to the point where is gonna classify as a bad faith claim. And
Yeah.
we're just going to involve our attorney and present this as bad faith. I mean, this is ridiculous because at the end of the day, it's a disservice for the policyholder, for the insured. And, that's not good.
Yep.
It's not good.
Absolutely.
You guys, you've built a strong brand and mentioned you're wanting to scale into additional markets. What does that next level of growth look like for Continental, and what operational challenges do you anticipate needing to solve to get there?
Sure. Well, one of the big things we've been working on is our own CRM, our own sales software. It's all encompassing product that takes the sale from A to Z, literally. I'm tired of having to pay the $1,500 a month to go use an AccuLinks or a RoofLink. We've developed our own process. It's so much so that we've had a VC interest in buying into it. It was interesting because it never started like that. It was something to run our company. My company, like many, many companies, probably the core or the basis of all roofing companies out there is smaller outfits, small, one-man show, or, 3 to 5 salespeople, doing 3 or 4 million a year. That's the guy that's wearing all the hats. That's the proverbial me right now, is wearing so many hats. And if I can automate certain things and streamline that process so that I don't have to be in 5 million places at once, and all it's gonna do is increase our revenue. It's gonna increase our sales, obviously, and put me out in front of people, which is what we love to do. It's what I like to do. I don't want to be sitting behind the desk of this dark office, with no windows and pushing paper. That's the last thing I want to do. So that's the biggest challenge for me is incorporating that, and then finally calling into people. I've said this before. Finding salespeople, men and women who are of the same mindset as me, is difficult. You're a lot of people talk about the money that you can make as a roofing salesperson, and if you're not out there, making that 150 to $200,000 a year, then you wonder what happened. And this is the process that we've developed because we don't chase storms. We tell everybody the storm chases us. We've built relationships with our local insurance agents, local real estate agents, property management companies, home inspectors. So when a storm does hit, we get the phone calls. We're not having to knock on doors.
That's huge, man. That is definitely the way to go. You guys focus on profit units, not just jobs. I mean, you deliver the highest profit per operational hour. I mean, you're taking into account length, complexity, supplemental potential, crew efficiency. In my opinion, top roofers engineer margin. They don't chase volume.
Yeah, absolutely.
They quantified repair feasibility utilizing the databases out there, photo to scope automation. Instead of arguing opinions, you present measurable justification with respect to how you can win the argument on, I don't know, let's just say a non repairability issue or a discontinued piece of 8-inch aluminum siding or something like that. Utilize your resources. You guys do a nice mix running a storm retail mix, or even some companies that are heavily focused on storm restoration. Regardless, I think fundamentally, if you able to compress the claim cycle, position yourself as hybrid market leaders, operate like high trust local contractors, but with storm expertise as a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. We get, probably 80% of our business is referrals. It's calls from the real estate agents, calls from the insurance agents, and who are just looking for a quote to replace a roof. And if we get up there and we see there's enough damage up there to file a claim, that's a bonus for them. I was the roofer for both the seller and the buyer on this property. Got up there, hail damage everywhere. They were fighting about the roof, who was going to pay for the roof. And I got up there. I told the owner, I said, you have a ton of hail damage. Not only that, but all your siding. So I processed this claim. It took less than a month. It took about 3 weeks to get it all the way done through. Full roof, full siding. The buyer gets to pick the colors. I mean, everybody walked away from this happy. I knew both the seller's agent and the buyer's agent, so they both came out smelling like a rose with their customers. It
Yeah.
was just a win-win all around. It's not often that happens. The kismet that all the magical pieces come together, but it happened then, and it was just really, really neat to be a part of that, to have sat in the middle of it, and orchestrated it. So, yeah, if we're able to file a claim, then we're going to let the people know. I'm not telling you you need to. I'm just telling you that if you wanted to, there's a good chance you can get this thing bought, save you a lot of money.
Be transparent with your prospects, with your potential clients, right? Give them the big picture initially. That's only going to benefit your relationship with that person, with that policy holder, with that client, right?
Exactly.
How many years did you work with for State Farm?
It was just a few years, late 90s. I was a roofing salesperson first, got my license, ran a few storms, and then it goes back to the roofing business. It was a grind. The travel was killing me. It was one of those things where you're realizing real quickly, yeah, I'm okay where I was at. This is not yeah, as a roofing contractor, especially if you were chasing storms in the off season, you want to do something, you want to make money. And if you're not out selling a roof, so we thought, okay, let's go get our licenses and we can run, hail claims in the interim. It just, that didn't pan out. So it lasted maybe about 3 or 4 years before I finally,
So
you know,
you were doing some cat work with State Farm then?
yep.
Okay. Gosh, I remember back in the day. Yes, I actually started in roofing sales for a couple years, and then got my PA license. I'm licensed in 4 states now, but back in the infancy stages of my career, I remember meeting with State Farm FAs, with State Farm adjusters. Back in the day, it was these guys would show up, they'd give you the chalk and say, go find hail damage.
I remember those days.
I'm like, okay, this is not so difficult. Now you meet a State Farm adjuster, and it's like pulling teeth to try to get even a repair. I've got quite a few clients out in Texas, and I've got a GC out there, and he was telling me when I first met him, he's like, most of the PAs out here, if it's all state or state, especially State Farm, and it's a denial or partial approval, whatever it is, they don't even want to touch it because they know that it's a nightmare to try to get State Farm to open coverage on a denial. But anyway, what I'm getting at, it's just it's nothing like it used to be with State Farm. So point being, that's what a unique experience that you had working for them on their side to really see to give you that perspective on what you're doing now. I think that's pretty unique.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely use that, especially in putting together reports. So when I put together a file on a customer and it's got everything in it, and it's exactly written. I mean, it's a full package of information. So,
Yeah.
I've had many roofs bought, many claims, period, bought strictly off my report. They don't even send an adjuster out. They just send the check.
Documentation is everything, man. If you have
Absolutely.
you've
Absolutely.
got a killer file with, not just 8 to 10 photos of hail or wind impacts, whatever it is on a couple slopes, do 4 slopes.
Yeah.
Document the collateral damage, document everything, man. Document
Yes.
the elevations. Photos are everything.
Absolutely.
And if you don't write an exaggerated overkill of an estimate and it's legitimate damage, you're likely to prevail.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, many desk examiners don't, they still want to give you a hard time.
Sure, of course. That's the nature of their business, though. They're like we said before, they're not evil people. They're just doing their job. They've been taught you need to make sure that this is a real deal. We don't want to be paid for something that's not. So how do you do that? Well, you make it hard on them. You make them force them to show you. Make them, go out and see it yourself. So there's a lot of things that go into that. And a lot of it is psychology. I tell all my guys, these are guys, women, men and women now that are doing a job. They don't want to hear an angry contractor yelling at them in front of the customer. They treat them like people. They're going to treat you like people. Simple.
100%. And I think to add on that, especially in the field, meeting these field adjusters, these guys and gals, and you never know where they're coming from that day. They could have just, oh, I don't know, they had a couple adjustments with, let's just say, one rookie roofer or a knucklehead public adjuster didn't know what he was doing, and everything's hail. This is hail. This is hail. The blisters hail, and they didn't know what they were doing. So, you can see that anxiety and it's going to rub off onto the adjuster. So let's say he just showed up and then now you're about to present the same thing. But of course, for me now, I would never present it in that way, but you just never know where they're coming from. You got to give them read the room, be respectful. And you say psychology 100%, read the room. Once again, feel them out a little bit. Do they want to engage? I mean, you're going to get some folks that on those, especially in those adjustments, that regardless of what you say or however you present it, they're just not going to reciprocate. And that's okay. But it is what it is, man.
Sometimes it's as simple as looking at their license plate. Are they a CAD adjuster? Or are they a desk
Yeah.
a staff adjuster? That tells you a lot about who you're dealing with. The guys that are running the country, they're comfortable talking to people. They enjoy meeting people. It's a whole different beast than somebody who's a staff adjuster who's been dealing with nothing but a manager and a pissed off customer or client insured. So there's a little bit of that where you're absolutely right. It's reading the room. And part of that is sometimes just reading the bumper sticker or reading the license plate on their vehicle.
Agreed, man. So I would say looking ahead, what's one major trend or technological shift roofing and restoration companies need to pay attention to if they want to stay competitive?
Oh, AI, absolutely. AI. Incorporate it as much as you can in every facet that you can, from the lead generation to the behind the scenes phone answering, follow up, finding your customer. It's just everything. In any way that you can incorporate as much AI as you can, you'll be one up on ahead of the guy next door. And there are a lot of roofing companies. All you need to do is beat the 4 or 5 that are around you.
It's interesting you say that. You mentioned you've got some pretty exceptional goals around scaling and systemizing your claim driven residential channel. And so I am right now, I'm focusing on implementing AI powered systems that turn more estimates into signed jobs, streamline operations, generate new revenue streams. I started this venture to build deeper relationships with roofing and restoration companies. They've always been, my go-to for referrals and leads. I mean, so I wanted to explore new ways to connect with these folks and build these more relationships. And naturally I fell into this AI arbitrage business. And, with that in mind, would it be a bad idea to schedule a 15-minute call sometime in the next couple weeks with you so I can
Yeah,
go over what we're doing and I can show you a couple of high leverage ideas that might support the expansion path that you talked about, man?
sure. Yeah, I mean, we're working right now with an AI company, and we're in the very beginning onboarding process of teaching the agents, what they need to know. It's a process. I've learned that. So, but yeah, I'd love to listen. I'd love to see what's out there. This industry should be always growing and always changing. If this is a part of it that I'm in.
Sounds like a plan, my friend. All right, Carlos, I definitely enjoyed everything today. I hope you did the same. And this was excellent for listeners who want to connect with Continental Roof Company. Where's the best place to find you?
www.contiroof.co, contiroofco.com.
Perfect. Appreciate your time today.
Likewise, buddy. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Talk soon. Thank you.